On the podcast, it's a story that the rest of the country's media is too scared to do, and they're doing everyone a disservice as a result. But here at this podcast, we back down to no one and highlight the damn stupid and the ridiculous. And I want to say to my fellow New Zealanders, prepare to be divided and angry this summer. Really divided on the water, on the beaches, in the fishing clubs, and especially at the boat ramp. And I blame it solely on this government, who have passed a law meaning the Hauraki Gulf triples the size of its protected marine areas by super expanding the 2 marine reserves and adding 12 HPAs, or high protection areas, and 5 seafloor protection areas. But there's been a carve-out, a compromise which shafts recreational fishers. The government is still allowing commercial ringnet fishing in these high protection areas, but by keeping us out, it makes a mockery of the term high protection. They're looking after their mates, and on a lesser scale, iwi will still have their full rights to customary fish these high protection areas. Recreational fishers will have to park on the boundary of these vast areas and just watch. That's not sustainable, is it? So much for one law for all. Bugger off. This is favouring corporates and Māori and leave recreational fishers out in the cold. This will go down like a cup of cold sick. I mentioned this a month ago when the law was passed, and subsequently have been stopped in supermarkets, on the streets, with people furious at what's going on here. Why call it high protection when 2 groups can enter these areas and fish, and the vast majority of everyday hard-working, tax-paying Kiwis can't? You can't come in here. I think this is destined to be tested because it's a crap law which puts the interest of corporate fishing and tikanga ahead of every other Kiwi fisherman. I can't see us accepting this or quietly accepting this gracefully, can you? Let's go. Are we paying these people to front up, or are we paying them to fly to Wellington to eat their lunch? Should you really lose your career for refusing to take part in a 90-minute lesson about Māori culture? This government doesn't actually have any idea how to get economic growth. Show us what you made of, Prime Minister.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Duncan Garner, Editor-in-Chief, proudly sponsored by the Brothers Green. Unlock the innate power of New Zealand botanicals to support your mobility. Try the Brothers Green New Zealand Move Joint Support Tonic and join over 20,000 other Kiwis experiencing easier movement. For as little as $1 a day, you too can experience the power of New Zealand hemp seed oil for your joint health. Head to brothersgreen.co and use code DG20 at the checkout for 20% off your first order. It's a good one. Always read the label. Take as directed. Supplementary, of course, to a balanced diet. The Brothers Green, Christchurch. Okay, g'day, welcome to the podcast. I'm Duncan Garner. Nice to have your company, and thank you so much for subscribing for $7.99 a month. We ask you to subscribe, please. What you do is you text my name, Duncan, to 3598, and I'll send you a link, and you can sign up. Every Friday, we send you out all sorts of content for subscribers only. Ask Me Anything sessions. You can send me emails. I'll answer those on the show on Friday in the special subscriber podcast. So if you can do that, we really appreciate it. Team Duncan, that's building and building, so we've got our own station now. Okay, and you'll be part of a team as we take on the mainstream media. Tonight, I want to look at this fishing in the Hauraki Gulf, these new areas, and quite frankly, I reckon you'll be outraged because what we're doing is we're compromising and giving the corporate something, corporate fishing, big fishing, and we're giving Māori their customary rights, which they have already, and you and I, recreational fishers, we're being left right out. We can sit on the edge of these. High protection areas and just watch while other people fish it. I think it's wrong. Let's go.
It's the Slam Dunk.
Okay, if you love to fish, what I told you, there's this. Big chunks of the Gulf are now off limits. Almost 20% of the wider Hauraki Gulf is now closed, but only to you and me. Commercial fishers still have access, as do iwi. The government has seriously expanded these marine reserves and added new high protection areas, which only serve to stop people like me and like you, potentially. The commercial and iwi fishers can carry on regardless. For us recreational fishers, we are being watched like hawks. No ifs, no buts or maybes. They're a no-go zone. No way do we even get a look in. But if you're Māori, you still get to customary fish in these so-called high protection areas. And if you're a commercial fisher in some instances, you'll still be allowed to throw your deadly net in there as well. And to all those thousands and thousands of voters who also happen to be fishermen, consider yourself shafted. I talked about this a month ago. You may have missed it. So who is standing up for us and who has our interests at heart? Who's going into bat for us? So let me make this brutally clear. The government has created the most confusing, unfair, infuriating mess in the history of the marine rules of this country, and then acted shocked when people like me took them on about it. I say let's stand our ground. These guys have screwed us and then looked the other way. Well, they've walked away. Here's why this matters. Recreational fishers, the ordinary New Zealanders who actually care about the Gulf, have been treated like a nuisance, an afterthought, a problem to be managed rather than a group to work with. And what did the government deliver? A system where some people can still fish and you can't. And not a single minister has had the guts to front up and explain this. They dumped a map on the public like a grenade and they walked away. So the rage is real, and the government caused every drop of this. Let's hit it straight. Yes, Māori can still exercise customary fishing in these areas. That is legal. That is their rightful treaty right. It is protected, and it's not up for debate. But so much for high protection. What happened to being guardians? What happened to being guardians? Well, I thought iwi were guardians. But let's be honest, Māori were never going to give up that right, were they? But here's the truth. The government refuses to acknowledge this. They locked you out while leaving others in without a single straight answer. They created a system that feels unequal, looks unequal, and is. It is unequal. It lands unequally, not because Māori asked for it, not because Māori designed it, they didn't, but because the government is hopeless at designing anything with transparency, and they haven't been. And now recreational fishers are standing on the ramp at the marina thinking, how come I get shut out while someone else doesn't? Does that feel like New Zealand to you? And the government's answer is, it's complicated. That is a pathetic answer. It's not good enough. And if you wish to lose next election, allow the full heat to take over on this one, Mr. Luxon. This is the part that should make everyone angry. They use Māori customary rights, legitimate lawful rights, as a shield to deflect from their own spineless policy making. They hid behind it. That's why people feel played. That's why the anger is really white hot. Not because Māori have rights, but because ministers don't have the courage to front on it. They've created resentment for no reason, division for no reason, a two-tier feeling for no reason. And there is a two-tier. The culprits in the iwi are over there fishing, and we are sitting on our boats at the edge of the high protection areas wanting to fish, and we can't. And worst of all, they allowed commercial fishing exemptions in protected areas. How can you call something a high protection area and allow the commercial fishers in with their nets? You cannot make this stuff up. Recreational families locked out. Customary Māori allowed, as the law says, and Māori will take a real lead in the work that goes on in these highly protected areas, apparently. But what other New Zealanders who love hunting and fishing and love and care for this area too, why cut them out of this conversation? They are New Zealanders too, and they have the credentials to help. Cutting them out to me is really troubling, and to me it's racism. Imagine half my rugby team can fish these areas, and if I'm on the same boat as them, I have to watch. That's what it's going to come down to. You will divide New Zealanders in their homes and on the boats and on the boat ramps. How on earth is that acceptable in New Zealand today, that we can design a policy like this that shuts a huge chunk of New Zealanders out? So what are we left with? Well, we're left with this. On the commercial side of things, they will slip through these loopholes, and it looks dirty, and it looks like there's been backroom deals, and there has been. And at what price? Who got what? Were there backhanders? And they expect people to sit on the sidelines and clap quietly? I don't think so. Give me a break. Get stuffed. Ignore the masses at your peril. Everyone got screwed except the government's favourites. That's the truth. Recreational fishers, what happens to us? Well, we lose access. And how would you know where these areas are? They're massive. Iwi get dragged into this thing, probably unfairly, and they will face some backlash. The sea gets half protection. Even though it says high protection, they get half protection. And communities, all of our communities, get confusion. And the government gets to hold a press conference pretending they saved the Gulf. Pass me the sick bag. It's infuriating. And they've only caused upset and division, and they lose votes over this. I reckon that this summer you're going to see a huge, huge reaction to this. And if we don't, I'm asking New Zealanders, what's wrong with you? The real truth is the government created a system designed to fail. They botched it. They botched the boundaries. They botched the rollout. They botched the comms. They botched the fairness. They botched the entire bloody thing. And now you, the everyday fisherman, is stuck watching others fish where you can't, because the government didn't have the backbone to make rules for everyone and for everyone to understand and respect. The ironclad verdict is this is the government failure, full stop for me. Māori aren't the problem. They're going to get some backlash, though. Customary rights aren't the problem, but they'll get backlash. Tikanga is not the problem, but they'll get backlash. They were always there, but the government hid behind them rather than confront them. The government is the problem here. They built a system that pits ordinary people against each other. Then they ran for the hills, they ran for cover. It's cowardly, it's clumsy, it's cluttered, It's chaotic and it's utterly predictable from a government. This mess did not have to happen. It didn't have to exist. The tension didn't have to happen. The anger didn't have to happen. But it's happened now because the government failed all of us. And I reckon this law in these areas will be tested this summer, and so they should be. And I don't blame people at all for doing that. It's massively gutless. It's a huge failure from this government, and I urge fishermen to make some noise on and off the water and on the streets and remind the government how poor this law is and how poor it is that they can't fish areas that they have always fished, yet others can. High protection, it means nothing.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, switching topics now. Illicit tobacco. Illicit tobacco in New Zealand isn't a small-time problem. It's becoming organised. It's a black market. It's a black market business, and the government is sitting on its hands like it's a Sunday picnic. Hundreds of tonnes of illegal tobacco enters New Zealand every year. Experts estimate up to about 25% of cigarettes smoked in New Zealand are illicit. That's tens of millions of dollars in lost excise revenue. That's tax. Money that could pay for hospitals, smoking prevention programs, community health services, all sorts of things. And yet somehow the government pretends this is a minor inconvenience. We're talking about organised crime syndicates, shipping counterfeit and smuggled cigarettes, domestic chop operators producing untaxed loose leaf, small-scale distributors selling online in dairies or from the back of vans. That's what's happening. One small shipment worth $2,000 overseas can be flipped into about $70,000 on New Zealand streets. Easy. It's profitable, it's low risk, and our law and order bureaucracy is struggling to keep up. They don't talk about this. Illicit tobacco expert Rohan Pike, a former Australian Federal Police officer and Border Control officer, is with us now. G'day, nice to see you. Welcome.
Great to be here. Thanks.
Hey, so what are you doing here?
I'm here to sort of warn New Zealanders about the looming threat of illicit tobacco. I've been following the illicit market in Australia for the last 10 years, and I can see some similarities in the drivers between Australia and New Zealand. And Australia's now been completely overrun by criminal gangs and the illicit market, which is well over 50%, it's probably 70%. And New Zealand's likely...
tobacco market. 70% of your tobacco market's illicit?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So that sort of means that all the regulations, the plain packaging, all these things that are designed to clamp down on the legal market, they have no effect. So the people just move straight over the road to buy an illicit product, and there are no regulations on that. So
I was reading somewhere that you can bring in, say, $2,000 worth of product and sell it for about $70,000.
Yeah,
is that about right?
Yeah, it's about 40 to 1. So criminals are loading up containers for $250,000 and selling the products for $10 million.
How do they get into the country?
Just bombarding the border. So they overwhelm the customs authorities. They don't have the resources to check every container. In fact, they hardly check 3 to 5% of the containers. But they use all sorts of diversionary tactics and to disguise what they're up to, mislabeling products. This has been the smuggling regime for many years.
Bamboozle is the one, isn't it?
Yeah. And they don't mind if they get seized because the next one will make the profit. They could get 10 seized and the next one still makes a profit.
Yeah, so the one that they seize is the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, that's right. It's just a business expense for them. They just write that off.
And who are these people?
They're international crime gangs. So there's been crime gangs in Australia for a long time, but on a much smaller scale. But now, because of the excise increases in Australia, that's made them 5 times the illegal price. Has just given them an opportunity to expand. So we've had drug gangs, bikie gangs that have previously been in the drug business have moved over to tobacco business because of the profits that can be made and because of the less risk of them going to jail.
Yeah, so the excise tax, which we've put up, hugely here, there was always a warning that, these things are going to become a target now. And sure enough, it's paid out like this in Australia. Do we have an issue here?
I think it's coming. I've been looking at the parameters over here, and your excise has been raised to a level where it's now about 3 times what you can buy an illicit product. So that is about the tipping point where people will just say, even though that they may be law-abiding, they may have they want to pay a premium to get their product that they have enjoyed for many years. It gets to a point where they say enough's enough and they just lose faith in the government regulations and then have no qualms about going to the illicit process. And that when that tipping point is reached, it falls off a cliff really quickly. And
Yes.
we found in
Are
Australia it's
we-
gone from 30% to 70% in about 4 years.
Wow. So it's doubled a bit more. Where are we at then? Because I've with the work I've done on this, they say about $100 million worth of product comes in illicitly here.
Yeah, well, the latest study a couple of weeks ago came out at 27%. So that's gone up from 21 to 24 to 27 in the last 3 years.
It's high.
And I think that is getting close to the tipping point. So the things that would prevent it, like a really strict legal regime and strict policing and enforcement, is not in place here. So if there is an onslaught, if some of the criminals in Australia do cast their eye over the Tasman and decide that this is the next market that they're going to take over, I'm not sure that you're prepared for that. So I'm just...
Are they here already?
Yeah, they are here. There's been evidence that... certainly there has been Chinese gangs that have been bringing in the double happiness. That's a particular brand made in Hong Kong or China.
Yep.
But the Australian market, that's the second most popular brand in Australia. The most popular brand is Manchester, which is made in Dubai or other places in the Middle East. And that's run by Middle Eastern gangs. And that's just started to infiltrate here. And that is certainly controlled by Australians, organised crime. And there is an indication that brand is starting to come into New Zealand.
Are we big enough to infiltrate? Are we big enough for them to bother? We've got 5 million people here.
Yeah, but that's the size of a state in Australia.
Yep.
So they've decided, they started in Victoria, they went right round Australia. I mean, it's obviously a Commonwealth policy that has helped drive this process. So they've just taken it state by state, overtaken and fought their way into the market, which has caused a lot of violence. We'll come back to that, I suppose. But they might just view New Zealand as the next Australian state that they want to take over, and 5 million is enough.
Yeah, and so let's just say that they are looking at here, or they're already here. What sort of violence are we talking about? What are their tactics?
Well, they go around to shops, which is the easiest way to get their product to market. I mean, it's terribly embarrassing. You would think, selling drugs, it's out the back of a car or, in a pub or somewhere very dark and secret. But these are just being sold in normal dairies on the street, thousands of them.
So they're just going to the owner saying, hey, you buy this lot here for a few $100. And
they are. They're saying, we've got a container in, you'll be selling our product now. They also might extort them. So in Australia, they get running around to shops saying, you'll pay us $5,000 a month or else we'll firebomb you.
People are shit scared.
Yeah, sometimes they go in and say, we'll just take over your shop, thanks very much, and or else. And the threats that they're putting out there are real because there have been hundreds of firebombings in Australia. So when they say that they're going to do it, they're doing it.
We haven't had that here.
Not as yet, no. And that might be because they are more persuasive, that the people that they've spoken to have agreed, that have seen what's happened in Australia and don't want any part of that and have just sort of laid down. Or it hasn't quite got to that level here.
Yeah, they may not want to draw attention to themselves like that just yet.
Yeah, well, it's been silly in Australia. The criminals have made themselves a target now. They were carrying on this business for decades under the radar, and I was warning the government that it was a growing issue, but it wasn't until they started killing each other. There's been at least 5 murders in Australia.
You reckon this is all coming here?
I don't see why it wouldn't come here, because that difference, discrepancy between the legal price and the illegal price is a driver. And
so it's a $40 pack of cigarettes here would go for what on that market?
So I think that's about 15 is the going rate here.
15.
So in Australia, it's sort of like 50 to 10, and so the 5 to 1 is too much. Here it's about 3 to 1. But yeah, as I say, there's a tipping point, and once it gets past that, it happens really quickly.
And there might be some dairies that quite like the idea of making a bit of few bucks as well.
Well, there are. So
I mean, everyone can get corrupted, if they want to, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's all about the money.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And lots of people who, as I say, may have been law-abiding citizens in the past in Australia have seen that they can make more money out the illicit product they don't want the hassle of dealing with the criminals, so they just abide by it and carry on.
So the tax base, so the revenue you earn from the excise tax collapses?
It has. It's gone from 16.5 billion to 7 billion in Australia. So it's a 10 billion loss. It's down.
Wow.
What's that? 60% in 5 years.
Yeah, and your rates of smoking have probably gone up.
Well, that's a good question. The rates of smoking are going up. The Australian Medical Association presidents in some states have noted that they've witnessed that, but then other health people are trying to downplay that, because that is the last straw for our tobacco control policy. So
it's been a disaster then. So this whole thinking we were doing the right thing by pushing up the price and moving people out of smoking, which we did quite successfully here in New Zealand. We did quite well until recently. The negative effect is about to hit.
Yeah, you can get too far. So just it shouldn't be the only lever in order to reduce the smoking market.
Pretty killer lever though. It's a pretty big. It's the big instrument that whacks you in the face, isn't it?
It is, but it's only effective if there's not a third. It's only effective to either quit or to pay the tax if there's not an easily available third alternative. And that's where the criminals step in and say, people want this product. Yeah. They'd rather pay 15 than 40, and we'll deliver it to them.
Well, they can't afford 40. I mean, you can't consistently keep smoking at $40 a packet.
No.
I mean, your kids will miss out on food. I mean, we don't have the incomes here for that.
Yeah. No, New Zealand upped their excise rate by 10% for 10 years in a row. I'm not sure whether there was any science into that or whether it was just a determination to...
That was a get tough message, that's what it was.
Yeah. But looking at the charts of your declining smoking rates, which are commendable, it's obvious that the biggest declines happened when vaping came in. So as opposed to Australia, New Zealand has actually embraced lower risk nicotine products.
Embraced? We haven't had any option that's on every corner.
Well, that's right. Well, it's on every corner in Australia as well, but we haven't legalised it. We haven't regulated that market. So the whole vape market in Australia is illicit.
It is now, isn't it? That's right.
Over 95% of that market is illicit.
And so ours is, we sell to anyone and everyone. It's on every corner. Yeah. But we were guinea pigs too, though. We just said, well, we got 11-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds smoking this stuff. Yeah.
Well, hopefully an element of that was a bit faddish. So
people that weren't going to smoke are now vaping.
Yes. But if you agree with the harm reduction in terms of nicotine products, where people like the UK government say vaping's 20 times safer, then I'd rather my kid be vaping out the back of the shelter sheds than smoking.
Yeah, but what if they were never going to smoke?
It's a bit of a hypothetical. It's hard to judge that.
I know. It's a tricky one. But
at the moment, you've got 15 to 17-year-olds in New Zealand with a smoking rate of 0.6%.
It's amazing.
That is
remarkable.
It's fantastic. You should be very proud. I know you had that proposed legislation coming in about smoke-free generation. That generation is smoke-free already without having the legislation.
We've actually made it uncool. So vaping's cool, apparently. But smoking's no... Vaping you get sneered at in this. Smoking you get sneered at in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Hissed.
And that's a great thing, because it's by far the deadliest product you could possibly consume nicotine through. So that's an excellent result. I note that the vaping rates are actually flatlining or decreasing. So that might be a sign that fad period where it's a shiny new toy for the youngsters... is over.
Yeah, maybe. But the smoking is there still enough people smoking here to make it worthwhile to bring illicit in?
Well, there's 380,000 people still smoking. So
yes,
that makes it at about 6.8%. So that is yes. But the thing that's happened in Australia is that the smoking has been so cheap and available that more people are starting to smoke. So that would be the worst possible thing.
Well, that's what happens, though, isn't it? If it's cheap, then people get back into it.
That's right.
And is that what it shows?
It is what it shows. So that's a disaster. So we need to avoid that. You've done well by embracing vapes. The next generation nicotine products are the pouches, which are already on the streets here.
God, this is dangerous because this could undo all the good work.
Exactly.
And
completely undermines your whole policy.
It's all under the radar, so there's no data, there's no funding, there's no excise tax to put towards smoking programs and everything.
Yeah, no, that's right. So you would have noticed that the smoking rates have got to 6.8%, but now flatlined for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Illicit rising during that time may be one of the contributing factors to that.
Yeah.
Immigration might also be one of the contributing factors.
Well, I think immigration, we should look at that because we've got a huge immigrant population here now.
Mm-hmm.
At Auckland, it's every 2 people, one of them is an immigrant.
Yeah.
Which is just every second person is an immigrant in Auckland.
Right. Well, they bring their habits with them, and if they come from high smoking countries, which many of them do, they don't just drop their habit when they get to the border. So they still want to smoke. They would also like to smoke the products that they used to smoke at home, and they would also like to smoke them at the prices they used to pay for them at home. So they're still drivers.
They're driving this illicit.
Well, I think that the Chinese product is probably related to Chinese entities and Malaysian entities that have brought a lot of double happiness into the country. So at the same time that you're probably, even though the smoking rate says it's flatlining, you're probably increasing the number of smokers from importing them, but you're reducing the same amount in the population that was here before. So it evens itself out.
What do we do? How do we address this?
Well, I think you need to review the excise rate. Just work out whether it's at an appropriate level now or it's actually encouraging illicit.
Drop it.
I wouldn't raise it anymore as a starting point.
But if we're at the tipping point and she's tipping, wouldn't it be best to
probably
reduce it?
Probably. I
mean, which governments do that?
The other processes that you've got in place are strong enough to reduce the smoking rates as you have. Double down on vaping. So I think you've gone a little bit squeamish on the whole vaping thing. So that smokers are now a little bit unsure or confused as to whether one's safer than the other. So if there's one smoker out there who doesn't quit smoking because they're unsure, you're doing that smoker a disservice.
Yeah.
And if there's 10,000 of them out there that are not quitting smoking because they're confused, then you're doing the whole community
and maybe
a
they
disservice.
are confused because, I mean, one's got about 4,000 toxic chemicals, the other's got about 4.
That's right.
So,
yeah, one kills people and one doesn't, basically. So you need to double down on that education around vaping, that this is better. You need to come from it from a position of assuming that people will want to continue to digest nicotine, which they have for thousands of years. So that's just a habit that people, it'd be nice to say everyone just stop vaping, everyone stop smoking, but
it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
No, so do we take? We can't be too aggressive and take cigarettes out of dairies, can we? Because that will push the illicit even further. So where's the happy medium? Is there one?
Well, enforcement I don't think is strong enough. So the deterrence for the illicit is not strong enough. The penalties, the numbers of police or, what is the local authority that runs around to dairies checking?
Well, do we have one?
I haven't met them, if there is one.
I don't believe we... But this is not something that's been overly exposed or talked about here.
No, because there's just this assumption by a lot of people in the population that customs will do all the hard work. They'll stop everything at the border, and that's just naive. They don't have the resources. They're not cut out to be bombarded at the border.
So if they get over the border, let's say the cigarettes get over the border, 90% of the stuff gets over the border. Where's the control after that? I mean, do we have a illicit tobacco squad?
No. So then it's sort of open slather after that. And so Australia...
If no one's looking out for it, no one's going to get it.
No, that's right. So Australia has only come to that party in the last year or two, as you say, because they've brought attention to themselves. People like myself and others were screaming about 10 years ago, but once it gets over the border, it's pretty much open slather, and it is in New Zealand at the moment. So that needs to be tightened. There needs to be more deterrence for people to sell it, even to buy it, and that's one thing. And then, as I say, double down on your harm reduction processes, your vapes and your nicotine pouches that are coming as well.
In fact, this has just triggered my memory. I have seen some of the stuff get sold out of the back of a car. I saw a guy in a Merc, must have been about a month ago, in a car park, and it was only a few packets, just to look like. Well, I didn't think anything of it. I thought he might have just bought them from the local shop, and I didn't. That's illicit.
Yeah,
he had them in his car boot.
Yeah, no, well, it
was on the
takes a
North Shore,
while
yeah.
for the population to get their head around that this is a serious crime. So, a couple of packs out the car boot, you might not, turn your head to it. But when it becomes millions of the things, then it's an impost on the communities, the health, the revenue, everything else. And when the violence comes in, then someone will eventually say, why didn't we do something to stop this?
And you warned us, you told us.
Yeah. So...
are you meeting with the cops while you're here?
I have met with the cops already. I've met with customs. But I'm hoping to...
Do they give you any reassurance that they're onto it?
They are onto it. The best thing about the police is that they've got strong links with people like the Victoria Police, where there's a New Zealander who's now the Chief Commissioner over there. And illicit tobacco is front and centre in Victoria at the moment. So he will no doubt be telling his ex-colleagues over here what's going on there, and I'm sure they're aware of it. And there was that recent report that came out from your Ministerial Advisory Committee on Transnational Crime that listed illicit tobacco as one of the growing threats.
But do we have a task force onto it? When there's a group of cops looking for this stuff?
Not as yet, no. So
Did you advise them? Yes,
I would, because it's easy to say we'll just crack down on illicit goods in general, but in my experience, a dedicated team onto this crime type builds the expertise, really, narrows in on some of those groups that are specifically focused on tobacco, and that'll help protect.
Do we need people in China? Do we need people at the borders there?
That helps. Yep, to pick it up.
We've got one cop there, I think.
Do we?
We got one cop there. Yeah.
Well, he'll be
fighting
busy.
The war on P.
Well, I hope he's encouraging the Chinese government to stop producing double happiness and sending it here. But
that's the name of the cigarettes.
That sort of diplomacy would help actually preventing it getting to this border in the first place. But the power of the profit will probably overcome that. So these criminals will target New Zealand if they think there's money in it for them.
And if it's easy enough to do, they'll do it. How much money are they making?
Well, the market in Australia is around $8 billion.
God, we're pipsqueaks, aren't we, over here at this stage?
At this stage, but it
can add up
$8 billion. So, yeah, it's in every... I mean, my local street has 20 illicit tobacco shops within a course of a kilometre. 20. It's everywhere. So you virtually can't walk down the street without stepping on an illicit packet.
Cancer that's just spread, isn't it?
Yeah. So they realised that no one was coming. So in the past, as I said, it's all secretive under the counter in the back of the car boots, as you say. But now it's not. It's just open.
So it's always accepted.
Yeah. No one's coming. So you just walk into a shop, say, "Can I have the cheap ciggies, thanks?" And they've got. Say, which ones would you like?
Yeah, it's like getting the dodgy fireworks.
Yeah, obviously New Zealand's not at that stage yet, but
there will be places where you can go and get cheap cigarettes.
Oh, certainly. I think that recent study said that Auckland's about 50%, and so that would and it gets less as you get further away from the major port. So. Yeah. I wouldn't rely on customs, even though they're doing a good job with the resources that they have. I wouldn't rely on them totally of stopping it coming in. So you need to look at the policy and, and a number of measures to clamp down on it from all sides.
Okay, letters to the editor. Duncan, please, I'd like to keep my name and email address anonymous, please, but I'm writing to inquire if you'd be able to investigate or discuss the rumours of geoengineering activities occurring across New Zealand. This topic frequently comes up in conversations with friends, and I have recently seen reports of overseas governments enacting legislation to ban geoengineering due to potential dangers to both the environment and public health. I really appreciate your show and will continue to be an annual supporter to help maintain your editorial independence. Cheers. Great question. The short answer is to geoengineering here in New Zealand is yes and no. There is some geoengineering. It's mainly research related here in New Zealand, but there's no confirmed large-scale geoengineering deployment like aerosol spraying for solar dimming, things like that. According to official sources, they say there's nothing. Here's what the evidence shows, though, and where things stand. The evidence says that geoengineering in New Zealand There's been research on ocean fertilisation in the past. NIWA, which is a government department, has done some work on iron fertilisation of the ocean, which is a type of geoengineering, adding iron to ocean water to boost the plankton, which helps draw down CO2, really. I mean, Earth Sciences New Zealand, NIWA, has done a lot of this research. The research was largely theory-based, not deployed at scale to engineer the climate, so that hasn't happened here. But exploring whether certain forms of geo-intervention could remove carbon from the atmosphere. So there's been official denials of this geoengineering in New Zealand, and according to a recent OIA release, NIWA says they are not doing geoengineering in the way that people often worry about, which is like deliberate weather modification, like doing things that deliberately try and change the weather via spraying and things like that. So they've denied that it happens. The New Zealand Ministry for the Environment likewise states there's no evidence for deliberate spraying of substances from aircraft for climate intervention, like the aerosol intervention or the injections. That's come from the Ministry of the Environment. So the answer is there's not, these projects don't take place, but there is research into them. I think it's probably the best answer that I can probably give on this. Yeah, I hope that satisfies you. It was a tricky one, so I had to go and do some work on it. That's us, folks. Thanks so much for joining us today, and thank you for subscribing as well. If you can help us out, then join up for $7.99 a month. You get all sorts of bonus episodes and content and newsletters and Ask Me Anything sessions. You can text my name, Duncan, to 3598. I'll flick you the link, and you sign up. $7.99 per month. Half a beer. $7.99. So it's under 10. You get change from $10. Okay, that's per month. And we do appreciate your support. Without you, and without the Brothers Green, of course, we wouldn't be here. So thank you so much for your thanks for your money, because it helps us stay afloat. Thank you to our producers, Lockie and Brody. Great job, guys. You always do a great job. Thank you very much. Remember, life's no dress rehearsal, no curtain raiser. This is it. We live in one of the best places on earth. So get out and enjoy it. Make the most of it. Cheers, folks. Ta-da.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Duncan Garner, Editor-in-Chief, sponsored by the Brothers Green. Feed your gut what it needs. Digest Gut Health Protein Powder. I use it myself. It supports natural digestion and gut health. Made with premium Canterbury-grown hemp powder and a unique blend of active kiwi fruit enzyme powder and kiwi fruit skin extract, offering natural prebiotics and a nutrient-rich profile to complement a balanced lifestyle. Always read the label. Take as directed. Supplementary, of course, to a balanced diet. The Brothers Green, Christchurch.